Let's get started with our first big story. Dustin Poirier has just revealed a major surprise ahead of UFC 318, and it has fans buzzing with excitement. The legendary rapper Lil Wayne will be walking out with Poirier for his highly anticipated showdown against Max Holloway. This is more than just a flashy entrance. It's shaping up to be a powerful, emotional, and unforgettable moment in UFC history. The bout, which will take place in New Orleans, marks a potential final chapter in Poirier's storied MMA career, with the BMF title up for grabs. Hailing from Lafayette, Louisiana, Poirier has always worn his roots with pride. From his walkouts to his post-fight interviews, he's carried the spirit of his home state into every battle. Now, teaming up with Lil Wayne, a global superstar and New Orleans native, for what might be his last walk to the octagon, adds an iconic cultural twist to an already monumental event. It's a celebration of Louisiana heart and heritage. An athlete and an artist, both legends in their fields, uniting for one epic night. While speaking with Full Violence, Poirier gave fans a peek behind the curtain about this special plan. As of right now, my guy Wayne said he's in, Poirier confirmed. It's still a good ways out, so we'll see. Though it hasn't been finalized yet, the tone of Poirier's statement made it clear. This is something they're actively working on, and it's likely going to happen. If it does, it'll go down as one of the most memorable walkouts in UFC history, not just for the star power, but for the raw emotion behind it. The fight itself is massive. Poirier versus Holloway isn't just about the BMF belt. It's a battle between two of the most respected, relentless fighters in the game. Both are known for their striking, durability, and never say die attitude. It's a true fan favorite matchup. But for Poirier, this night is about more than competition. It's about legacy. If this really is the end, he wants to go out with fire, passion, and one last unforgettable walk to the cage. With Lil Wayne by his side, the energy in New Orleans will be off the charts. Whether you're a fan of MMA, music, or just incredible moments in sports, this one is going to be special. Moving on to our second story, Renato Moicano believes that Kamaru Usman would beat Islam Makachev if the two ever faced off inside the octagon. Yes, you heard that right. Moicano says he'd confidently put his money on Usman in a hypothetical super fight between the two elite fighters. This bold claim comes shortly after Usman's recent win over Joaquin Buckley, which has reignited talk of him moving forward to face some of the biggest names in the sport. Following the win, Usman expressed interest in potentially facing the winner of the upcoming welterweight title bout between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makachev. That's when Moicano, who has first-hand experience sharing the octagon with Islam, chimed in with a strong opinion. According to him, Islam may be one of the most technical fighters out there, but when it comes to physicality and size, Usman holds a massive advantage. Moicano stated, if Islam beats JDM, it's former pound for pound versus current pound for pound. I put my money on the old mother brother. The man, really? Yes, 100%. Their wrestling cancels each other out. It becomes a striking match, and in that case, I think Usman wins. He's so much bigger than Islam. He continued by addressing the size difference, saying, I don't think Islam is that big. Yeah, he is. He actually towered over Buckley. I was surprised. When I fought Islam, he was lighter than me. He was like 178 pounds. I remember that clearly. He was 2 or 3 pounds lighter than me. When asked who would have more success with takedowns in a potential fight, Moicano answered without hesitation, I think Kamaru. Surprised, the interviewer replied, really? And Moicano doubled down. Yeah, okay, people are going to crucify me for saying this, but I didn't think Islam was that strong. I think he's a master of technique. The way he got the darker choke on me, he was putting pressure and then let the pressure down. Then he said, hey, okay, try to escape, mother. Then he got me. You know, that's skill. So while Moicano respects Islam's technique and submission game, he believes Usman's size and physicality would give him the edge. It's an opinion that's sure to spark debate among fans, and one that adds serious intrigue to any potential crossover clash between two of the sport's finest grapplers. Moving on to another major story, Kamaru Usman wants to fight Dricus Duplexes in Africa. Following his recent win over Joaquin Buckley, Usman has regained some momentum and is now revisiting a long-discussed dream, a move up to middleweight to face Duplexes in what would be a historic clash on African soil. This isn't just about titles or rankings. For Usman, it's about legacy. A fight between Nigeria's top UFC icon and South Africa's rising champion could mark one of the most culturally significant events events in MMA history. In a recent interview with TMZ Sports, Usman reflected on the fact that the UFC had been pushing him to move up to 185 pounds for years, ever since he held the welterweight crown. Now, with Duplessis at the top of the middleweight division, the opportunity might finally be coming into focus. Usman said, "After getting the welter belt, the UFC asked and waited years for me to go up and get the middleweight belt. I will relinquish that if Dricus Duplexes can card Africa versus Africa. First card in Africa. UFC is close to getting that done. South Africa versus Nigeria. It's a rivalry that's been built forever. If things start to fall in line, I think we're gonna see a pretty interesting next 18 months. This would be a massive moment for the sport." UFC President Dana White has spoken in the past about his desire to host an event in Africa, and with both Usman and Duplessis representing powerhouse African nations, this could be the perfect headliner. However, there are a couple of major hurdles. First, Duplessis needs to get past Khamzat Chimaev in their scheduled bout this August. That's no easy task. Second, despite Usman's experience and past dominance, he has just one win in the last 4 years, which makes a middleweight title shot a bit of a stretch at the moment. Still, Usman is optimistic. Speaking on his recent slump, he said, "I didn't even realize it until people started saying that, oh, you haven't won a fight since 2021. It kind of stuck with me, and it hurt me a bit. Because it's like, I don't feel like I've been losing fights. But the reality is, you're coming off of 3 losses. The most important thing at the end of the day is winning, and to be able to get that done, it felt amazing." Now that he's back in the win column, fans are wondering, who's next for the former welterweight king? Could it be Duplessis in Africa? Time will tell. Moving on to more news, Merab and Umar reportedly ran into each other recently, but the big headline today comes from Daniel Cormier, who is raising serious questions about Islam Makachev's potential retirement. DC expressed genuine concern over the recent comments made by Javier Mendes, Makhachev's longtime coach, who hinted that Islam may only have 3 more fights left in his career. This revelation came as a shock to many in the MMA world. Both fans and analysts were caught off guard by the idea that one of the sport's most dominant champions might already be planning his exit. Cormier, who has a close relationship with both Khabib Nurmagomedov and Makhachev, didn't hold back in a recent video where he addressed the news. He said, "Islam only has 3 fights. Why?" That's scary to me, because knowing these guys, if he says, "I've got 3," and he means it, then that's real. The only saving grace right now is that it was Javier who said it, not Islam himself. Cormier continued, "If Islam comes out and tells us, 'I've got 3 fights left,' we should all go, 'Man, we've got to lock in, because what he's doing at 155 is special. This isn't just a great fighter, it's a special reign we're witnessing, and if there are only 3 more opportunities to see it, we better appreciate them." The confusion and concern stem from the fact that Islam is still in his prime. He's in his early to mid-30s and currently on top of one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. For many, the idea of retiring now, especially while dominating, feels premature. Cormier referenced Khabib's early exit from the sport as a potential blueprint that Islam might be following. We saw Khabib do it, and he never looked back. That's why this should worry us as fans, because if Islam has made his mind up, he's the type of guy who will follow through. He added, "We still want to see him against Jack Della, against Kamaru Usman, against Ilia Topuria. There are so many mega fights on the table, but if he's only giving us 3 more, that window closes fast. It's crazy to think about." Whether it's just speculation or a real countdown to retirement, one thing is certain: the clock may be ticking on Islam Makachev's career, and the MMA world is starting to take notice. Next up, Islam Makachev's coach reacts to the Jon Jones situation. Javier Mendes, who just saw his own fighter get stripped of his lightweight title, weighed in on the Jon Jones Tom Aspinall situation. And yes, stripped is the right word. Islam publicly said he was not vacating his title and fully intended to defend it in the future, but the UFC didn't listen. They went ahead and took the belt off him anyway. So if we're calling it what it is, Islam got stripped. Now, with Dana White recently saying Jon Jones has 2 weeks to make a decision, Coach Javier believes Dana's timeline should be taken seriously, but he doesn't think the UFC is truly fed up with Jones just yet. According to him, once the UFC actually hits that point of frustration, that's when when they'll strip Jones. Until then, they're giving him room to move at his own pace. This situation is unprecedented. Tom Aspinall has defended his interim belt. That alone puts him in rare company. But on top of that, he's now officially the longest reigning interim champion in UFC history. He's done everything right, showed up, took on elite competition, and kept the division alive, while the real champ has been sidelined for months. Yet somehow, the guy with the belt that's supposed to be temporary is doing more to move the heavyweight division forward than the official champion. That alone says a lot about how messy this has become. Dana's very, very fair, Javier said. He's always been fair, a man of his word. So if he says something like that, that's probably going to be the case. He said 2 weeks, that's it. In all the years I've known him, I'm not his friend, but I know him, and I've seen him pretty much stick to what he says. And yeah, sometimes things have changed, but that's because circumstances changed. Coach, make it make sense. They've done the same thing with Islam and Poirier, but they can't force Jones to do anything. Well, Jones isn't going up to super heavyweight. No, I know, but like, defend or leave. Well, I think, because they did the same thing with Islam, defend or leave. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know, what do you think? You're thinking the same thing, because you're saying what I'm saying. I think they're going to say, defend or leave, because we can't continue having you hold us with a carrot. We need an answer from you. But I don't think the UFC is at a point where they're fed up with it yet. Once they do, they'll do it. Let's wait 2 weeks, because he said 2 weeks. And finally, Jon Jones hints at retirement. He shared a big update on where he stands with fighting, and if we're being honest, it sounds a lot like retirement, even if he's not calling it that outright. Speaking candidly, Jon said he doesn't want to use the word retired because fighting is in his blood. But at this point in his life, he could really care less about fighting. He acknowledged he's been doing it at the highest level his whole life. And for now, that fire just isn't there. If the hunger returns, he says he'll come back and give it everything. But that's a big if. Jon has been giving nothing but mixed signals for months now. One day he's teasing a comeback, saying he, Aspinall, and the UFC are working on something. And the next day, he's basically saying he's done, talking like a man who's already moved on from fighting. At this point, who knows what he's going to do? Is Jon Jones retired? Is he fighting again? I don't want to say that I'm retired because fighting is in my blood. Right now, I could really care less about fighting. I've been doing it my whole life at a very high level. And when the edge comes back, if it comes back, then I'll do it with my whole heart. I'll do it to the best of my abilities. But right now, I look around and I realize what's true, what's real. I see the way people look at me and the way I make people feel, and it's an extraordinary thing. That's who I am right now. I've punched and kicked,